What's going on, everybody? Johnny O from the Plot Hole. Good to see all of you in the old sign chats. Hope you're here for a fun show. I actually have a very special guest. So I'm going to read what AI ended up writing with what my guest sent me. So, Danny, if this isn't right, I apologize. It's AI's fault. Ladies and gentlemen, meet a licensed clinical social worker with the credentials, experience, and heart to make a difference. Degrees in business psychology and clinical social work? Check. A global perspective and top tier clinical expertise? Absolutely. But there's more. Blending a background in dance, leadership, and a deep commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, they create spaces where everyone is seen, valued, and empowered. Always learning, always evolving, and always listening. They don't do quick fixes, just real lasting solutions. My goodness, I hope that was at least somewhat. Um, I thought it was somewhat accurate. Everybody, welcome Danny D. Surprise, surprise, in house.
Surprise, surprise.
Thank you for not doing the leg stretch on the way in, even though I think it would have been great. Every time you do that, I pull a muscle, right? Okay, I mean that was my introduction to you on TikTok. Obviously, the surprise, surprise with the leg band, and I my goodness, the first time I saw, it, I was like, how the just this is not right. There's something not right with the world right now, and I'm in pain for it.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right, can everybody hear Danny D? All right, let me know in the old chats.
I see him. I see him. Hello, everybody.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so as you know, this platform has changed a little bit. We are, we're kind of diving more into the political commentary, and you seem to have an interesting voice, one that I appreciate at the very least, because you definitely bring a lot of sarcasm and humor to your dissenting opinions on the current political climate in the states. So, what really pulled you? Because you didn't used to do this kind of content, correct?
Yeah, no, I started on, well, we were talking a little bit earlier, but I started initially because my partner said, like, oh, you're really funny. You should be on TikTok. And I was like, well, that's stupid. Why would I do that? I'm on Twitter. Um, I ended up transitioning onto TikTok, and I was doing, like, I don't even know what I was doing when I first started doing TikTok, but I can remember. But then I moved into more introverted stuff because I'm an introvert by nature. And I started to do things about, like, how people are weird, and I want to stay away from people and things like that. And then I moved to more political stuff after Kamala Harris was put into the race, and that's when I started my political journey.
So Kamala Harris gets in, and you decide, you know what, I have something to say about this. What was like your biggest motivator, and what is continuing to be the biggest motivator for your content?
So I was with I was going with Biden. I was like, I'm going for Biden. Sleepy Joe.
Right.
I was like, I'm going for Biden. But when they put Kamala Harris into the race, like, the amount of energy, like, my entire body, I had a visceral response to what was happening at that point in time. And I remember my entire body just went this chill down my entire body. And I remember I jumped on TikTok and I created a video just talking about, like, how excited I was. And it was the first time that I actually talked, on TikTok, actually. And I was just talking about how excited I was. This is going to be, like, an amazing time, and the energy and all those different things. And they actually used my video on, I want to say, like, CNN or something. Like, they use people like
Wow.
me, Harry Wilson, and a couple of other influencers on there. I wasn't even, like, as large as those people at the time, but um, I was just super excited about what was going on. And then I got even more. And so, like, when the race was happening, I was doing more dancing, stuff, and just excited. And like you said, adding some comedic relief to what's going on. And then when the outcome happened that we didn't really expect to happen, I felt like, I was like, there's two options. Like, I can just live in the doom, or I can utilize what I have, which is my social work degree, and provide optimism, provide hope, and utilize my dance skills, which we'll talk about at some point because I didn't do that at first. I didn't do the surprise piece at first. I just was providing optimism and hope about what it is that we can do and how we can
Mhm.
continue to progress in this world we're living in now.
So then you decided, all right, I'm making some excellent content. What can I do? Is what better thing that I could do other than to make every person out there feel just completely inadequate with their ability to touch their toes?
So what's interesting about that, I was trying to find the video. I did the surprise leg before I actually did use the surprise song. And it was
Right.
in a completely different video. It randomly popped up on my memories. And then I don't know, one day I was laying in the bed and was the French president was
Trudeau.
going to, yeah, not Trudeau,
Oh, you said French
Macron,
president.
Macron was
I
going to
just
be,
went Canada because I guess,
exactly.
French people are in Canada.
I mean, it happens. Was going to be going after Musk for something. I can't remember exactly what it was, what was happening there. And so that's when I did my first surprise, and then here we are.
And here we are, 17 pulled muscles later on this side. It's just, yeah. So, we've been speaking for about, I don't know, a week and a half or so, and we had a whole mess of topics that we were going to talk about. And as we were talking about in the green room before the show, all that's kind of changed now. Like, it just seems like old hat to talk about things that happened, yesterday. It's the I gotta get your reaction on this whole Pete Hegseth thing.
Hmm. Um, so we knew. I mean, we knew that this was going to happen. There's no way that this could not have happened.
Yeah,
We
right. It seems like we're going to have the most colossally unqualified person running the largest department in the government, who, in this colossally unqualified person, just happens to like beer. We've heard that before.
uh, Cake Seth is what's going around right now.
I just, I get alerts from the New York Times and a couple other publications, and I got that alert. Department of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, releases classified information in a signal text group.
Yeah.
I didn't even question it. I was like, yep, that tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in no way surprised at all. Um, and that's for me that's a bit concerning, like because I feel like the wow factor, or not wow factor, the shock factor is gone at this point.
Right.
There's so many, what Bannon called flooding the zone. There's so
Mhm.
many things being thrown at us on a date, not day to day, moment to moment basis, that I was just like, oh yeah, no, that totally tracks. Like this is
Yeah.
exactly what I knew would happen, and it happened, and here we are. And then the deflecting and gaslighting started immediately after that. I didn't do that. That's not what happened. And I'm not glad that the editor or the CEO was the CEO or
Who's the editor?
editor editor
Jeffrey Goldberg.
the Atlantic, was like, okay, well, this is what we're doing. Here we go. Receipts,
Yeah.
proof,
And here's the thing.
timeline.
This is a funny thing about that whole story. And I know that the White House has come out against Goldberg, talking about, well, he's always been, anti-Trump and blah, 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 blah. So, well, okay, that's all well and good. But when he provides you the receipts, he's like, here you go. This is what was released. And this is what I can comfortably release that isn't classified information that I would
Correct.
be in trouble for releasing. And they're
Right.
going to sit there and say, well, all that does is show that no war plans were released. Yeah, because those war plans are classified. He would be in trouble for releasing classified. He would be tried for treason.
Correct.
I just don't
Correct.
like the amount of just again, at the end of the day, you can't really be shocked. I can't really, sit there and say, well, I'm shocked that this happened.
Yeah, I mean, and the hypocrisy of it all too. Like this whole they went after Hillary for all of these years about those
Mhm.
emails that she had recipes in,
Yeah, right.
and it's just like, here's how you bake a cake, and this is what I use for my guacamole dip. So it's like, but you're releasing classified information on a app that is non. I. It's just I. Yeah.
So the thing is, you had the CIA director come out and he says, "Look, that when the day that I was sworn in as director of the CIA, they installed this on my computer, and we were told that we were allowed to use this for interpersonal communications, dealing with work-related issues, and so
Mhm.
long as the whatever was released also went through proper channels and was recorded elsewhere. And then you've got the committee like, okay, cool, then show that. If it's not classified, then you should be able to show the message thread.
Right.
Well, we're not going to show it because it's an ongoing investigation. But you just said it wasn't classified, and this is part of that ongoing
Right.
investigation.
Yeah.
And they just won't do
Yeah.
it. And
That's
it takes the Atlantic. The Atlantic, like, hey, here you go. Here's what we can release without being tried. Nope, didn't do it.
Yep. At the core, it's their project, deflect, and gaslight. That's the core basis of being on that side.
100% correct. We saw that with the whole Elon Musk, salute. The immediate gaslighting. Oh, that's
Yeah,
not what happened.
yeah,
Absolutely is what happened.
yeah. No, we're watching with our own eyes. The same thing with January 6th. Like that's not what happened.
Right.
I'm literally looking at it right now. There's
Ex-
videos of it,
right.
but
It was a
it's not
peaceful
true.
protest. Well, it's peaceful. Then why are they shooting?
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
are they hitting cops? Where you know? Yeah, it's just
yeah.
it's insane. It's insane. I don't know. You being somebody who is in the mental health profession,
Hmm.
I imagine this. You start seeing this kind of stuff come into your office on the regular. I know you can't talk about specific cases, obviously, right? But
Right.
how, from your point of view, from your profession, has it gotten like a war weariness, so to speak? Has it gotten any worse? Are we starting to see trends of people like not necessarily overreacting, but having hyper reactions to these situations?
Yeah, I'm seeing it more so now this week. In the beginning, it a lot of executive orders and things that were coming out um, weren't necessarily like in place. So for immigration, that's his most successful, and I'm loosely saying the word successful right now. Successful ever right now, and so it is now affecting people. And it's close to home for them. Whether it's like girlfriends or family members, friends. So it is impacting people on that level. I'm seeing more so the anxiety piece, so heightened anxiety for a lot of people that I'm working with at this point in time. Um, Before the first term, I saw more of the depression because that's when I first started getting into the therapy piece. I saw the depressive piece, and so I'm working more on the depressive side. But I'm on the front end right now,
Hmm.
which is the anxiety because people are afraid of the unknown, and we don't know what's really going on and what's really happening because there's really no transparency at all, with this current administration, like at all. Um,
Yeah, I mean, God forbid you be here on a permanent residency and just say, hey, I don't like the response that my university has given about pro-Palestine protesting. We're going to
Right.
arrest these graduate level students here on permanent residency status. Well, not even arrest them. We're just going to detain them, send them to Louisiana, and then deport them for what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's people talk about, well, you're overreacting, and like the one that I love is the whole, well, you've got Trump derangement syndrome. It's all Trump derangement syndrome.
It that you know what, and I was offended by the senator or representative or whoever that person was trying to present that as a bill, and I'm like, do you understand the process that you have to go through? First of all, it's ridiculous, but do
Right.
you understand the process that you have to go through for us to even identify something as a diagnosis? Um, and that's not it. They're
Well,
peer
no, but they
reviewed.
don't understand. That's the problem.
Like at all. Like don't understand at all. And it's just like and I'm going like, you do understand like the TDS is like a projection, right? Because
Hundred
what you're
percent.
saying that we're doing is literally what you're doing. That's your TDS because I don't even mention the guy unless someone asks me about him.
Yeah, it seems like that's kind of a recurring theme, right? Like when I called out, like Manny, like so many other people, when we called out Elon Musk for what he did,
Yeah.
it was immediately, well, you don't like him because he was picked by Trump. I said, that has nothing to do with what's going on right now. You've got to be able to separate those two in this instance. You can be a Trump
Right.
supporter and look at what Elon Musk did as
Yep.
100% not okay.
Yep.
Those are mutually exclusive
Yeah.
things. But the
Yeah.
fact is, everything was turned. Well, it's because you don't like Trump. It's nothing to do with it. We didn't even mention Trump. We just said,
Right.
look what this person is doing
Yes.
on inauguration day.
Yeah. Like I identify the behavior and we acknowledge the behavior, we identify it and we acknowledge it. Like
Right.
that is poor, inappropriate behavior. Like bottom line.
Yeah, to me,
Bottom
I just don't understand why that's such a big deal. I do find it funny though that same representative, the Minnesota State representative who introduced that bill into legislation, just so happened to be caught up in a different kind of issue of his own. Sure, you heard about this?
oh, yeah. Yeah. So right. Oh, that is right. That is it is. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
Yes, that it is the same guy. Right. You
Hmm.
know, and uh,
Funnily enough, a few months ago, he co-sponsored an anti-LGBTQ plus bill because he
mm,
wanted to quote protect the children.
you know, there's always they always fit the bill. I'll just
It's
put it that
yeah,
way.
it's funny. Like you're
Unintended.
talking about the projection earlier.
Yeah,
So here we go.
yeah. They always fit the bill. Pun intended.
Right. Oh man.
Yeah, and that was quick. That was a quick turnaround. With that situation,
Yeah.
it was like boom, boom. You know, um, yeah. But it's a like you said the projection piece for them, the hypocrisy. Um, with a lot of these different things.
Mhm.
There's a whole situation with Hex. He was talking about the inappropriateness. There was Tulsi Gabbard actually tweeted something like a couple of days
Mhm.
before. If this happens, then they need to be arrested. And I'm like,
Here you
okay,
go.
so this is your chance,
Yep. Put your money
and
where your
while
mouth
you're
is,
at it,
lady. Yep.
throw
It's,
yourself in there as well too, because you did a
yeah.
perjury.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but no, I wasn't perjuring myself. I couldn't answer the question because of reasons that I'm going to invent after the fact to make myself not culpable of
Yeah,
perjury.
yeah. They're just not, and they're not even good at like lying. Like they're just if they were like saw her in the hearing like sitting there, she had to pause for a moment and she was like lie, lie, lie. Okay, think I have some.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, you could see the hamsters like really working hard in there trying to help her out with that
Totally.
one.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I'm like,
Jeez.
yours
Like,
not even good.
you know,
Not
it's
even
it's
like, I mean, go ahead.
no, please, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's so bad to just see them sitting there and trying to pull the wool over our eyes when we're like, first of all, we're pretty intelligent people. You know, and the majority of us, that are watching have vision, have hearing,
Hmm.
and we're sitting here watching what's going on most of the time in real time. So like but you're gonna go, nope, that didn't happen. Like, okay. Like you may be able to do that with your base.
Right.
Like you may be able to convince them that that didn't happen because they're just going to believe in whatever it is that you tell them to believe. But that doesn't happen on our side.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is when people talk about, well, what do you guys always excuse your leaders. No, we don't. No, 100%.
No.
If somebody comes out, like when Chuck Schumer just kowtowed to the whole, bill, I don't think there was anybody reasonable on the left who said, yeah, we're okay with that. Like, no, Chuck, what are you
No.
doing? You're completely throwing everybody under the bus here.
Yeah. I made a whole video about it.
Yeah, right. No, I saw that one.
Same thing with Gavin Newsom. I'm like, you can't be out here, acting as if you are um, being inclusive and then make a comment like that. Like,
Yeah.
again, you can have your ideals and however you believe, but now you were pretending that this is something that you are invested in and something that you agreed with, and then you're meeting with other people who are outside of that spectrum, and now you're going, oh yeah, no, totally, like I'm totally siding with you all. So I
Right.
call it on that all too.
Yeah.
You
At the end of the
know.
day, the standards are for everybody, not just for
Yep.
one person.
Yep.
And I feel like there's not really very many comparisons because I do a lot of I say a lot of like I do a fair amount of research into the things that I cover on this show. And when we were talking about the LGBTQ plus, like the whole, well, we can't have drag story hour because they're grooming children and et cetera, et cetera. And you go and look at the data just doesn't support that at all.
Right.
I mean, I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but one study I read, they looked at, I think it was 530 some odd cases, and out of all those cases, there were two that identified as gay or lesbian. Two.
Yep.
80 something
Yep.
percent, like 83.5% were heterosexual family members.
Yep.
So it's like there's no comparison here. Yeah, with the and at the end of the day, and I know I'm kind of like going all over the place here, but it's just like there's so many things that you could just grab a hold of. But at the end of the day, you're talking about, well, if your main, like the thing that everybody's, if your main concern about, trans rights is somebody abusing that, a man abusing that to go into a woman's restroom to harm a child, then your problem isn't a trans person. Your problem is a man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just the level of, and we again, there's nothing we were talking about in the pre-show. It's tough because there's so much that's coming at us, and
Yeah.
it's so difficult to decide like what are we going to go after, or what are we going to latch onto and really address. Like, as the whole Gulf of America thing came around, like the majority of us didn't give a shit. Like, that's such a non-issue. It was really, what was Musk doing? Well, he was
Right.
getting rid of people who were investigating him. That's what you should have been
Yep.
looking at.
That's what you should be looking at. It's like smoke and mirrors. It's like it's a magic show. Look at me.
Yep.
Wow, what's happening over here?
Yep.
I'm taking away pennies. Pennies don't exist anymore. And Musk in there gutting the federal department.
Right.
Federal government department.
Yeah.
So
Because looking at what was going on with the National Archives and removing of like DEI stuff. And I understand like we can't, I think that's a battle that we should fight, when we try and whitewash history, because, our
yeah.
history isn't whitewashed enough. But when you're doing things as silly as taking Jackie Robinson out.
Yeah. And I'm glad that certain people are standing up for certain things. Like, cause I was offended personally by the Tuskegee Airmen. Um,
Yep.
I did a video I posted today, I think it was, or a couple of weeks. I don't know when I posted it, but I posted a video, and I the dance that I'm doing in there is a tribute to the English. It's so late for me right now. To the Tuskegee Airmen. And some of them actually performance that's on that video. Some of them actually came to the performance. The surviving members came to that performance. It was in 2004. And yes, I'm really old. Uh,
We're
and
going to talk about that
so
later, okay?
so I took offense to that piece of it, and I'm glad that there are some people that are still in these positions that are going, okay, what? No, this doesn't. Why would we take this out? Like, this is a part of history. And the
Right.
same thing with Jackie Robinson. They because they put it back in right away, But it is a simple removing, and a lot of this has to do. And I speak to a lot of people in the Black community, and we're all on the same page with this. We're all understanding this is a ploy, this is bait to get us out into the streets,
Mm-hmm.
and we have not gone out yet in any of these protests, and we see how the protests are unraveling. There are minimal arrests, if
Right.
any. There's no attacks. Nobody's a threat. None of that's going to happen until we decide to go out or not. So we are supporting from the background right now. Right now, like I said, it's not going to be something that we're always going to do, but we're supporting the background right now because we already know what the game plan is to implement martial law.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, they're looking to get, rid of as much opposition. We see this again. You go back and look at like strategically how smaller forms of or smaller groups of people are able to control larger groups of people. You see it everywhere. You see it in government. You see it
Yeah.
in how we deal with, you know, like here's the thing. My father's side of the family is from your neck of the woods, Los Angeles, California, and um, we would, I had an uncle who was a prison guard and an uncle who spent time in prison. And, it was like, look, this is what they do. Because at the end of the day, in prison, we outnumber those guards, hands down.
Correct.
If we decided that we were going to take over the prison, there was absolutely nothing they could do because we could,
Correct.
like that, it would be done. Well, they divide and conquer. So they would put one street gang and they would house them with the opposing street gang to keep them fighting
Mhm.
each other so they wouldn't fight the guards.
Yep.
And we see that here in, just regular old everyday population. They would have you and I fight because we come from, quote, different backgrounds.
Right.
You guys know this is the problem. It's this guy over here who has his fancy white glasses.
Mm-hmm.
His white glasses give him the specialness that you should fight. He's the real problem. You saw it way back when the white race became a race. It was to
Yep.
unify everybody against, because the poor folk were like, look, we're tired of being poor, you rich white bastards. And like, no, we're all
Right.
white. You're one of us. We're not the problem. It's the slaves or
Yep.
it's the
Yep.
the immigrants that are the problem.
Yep.
Used to be the dirty Irish and the dirty Italians and and that was what it was. But then they was like, no. We'll bring them into the group too and make it feel like we're not, and we'll call it
Yep.
one thing. And then that's how they do it. They pit groups of people against other groups of people.
With those groups, because how can you take away the T in LGBT? You take the T in LGBT. Without the T, there would be no LGB.
Right.
Without that, because the two people who were the forefront of the LGBT movement or the queer movement were transgender.
That's an
So,
interesting piece of history that even I need to brush up
mhm,
on.
yes. So it's very, and it's exactly what you're saying. Like within the community, they thought that we were going to go, yeah, like no, that's not how that happens. Like we're going to stick together. And what? So the video that I posted with um, the sit your black butt down video,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
went really viral. I didn't know it was going to do all that. Um, the content in that section really showed the unity that's happening right now in this country. And I was just talking to someone before about the Black Lives Matter movement because it was divisive.
Hmm.
Like the Black Lives Matter movement didn't do what it should have done, which was bring people together. It was a um, it wasn't an authentic coming together. I had a lot of people coming to me and saying like, how can I hold space for you? And these are people who I've been friends with for many years and started to reach out to me, after George Floyd, was unalived.
Hmm.
And I'm going, you didn't want to hold space for me like, you know, 10 days ago. Like, why do you want to do that now? Whereas now, in this situation that we're in, we're all marginalized. We are all marginalized community at this point in time, and
Right.
people are really seeing that, for what it really is. And I made a comment about a month ago, and people didn't really like it, but now they're seeing it now. I was like, this is exactly how Black people have been feeling the entire time that they're in this country. The way that people are feeling right now. This is how we've been feeling the entire time. You know, and so now people are getting a little taste of that and a better understanding of like how we're pretty much now. We're all pretty much equal now.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the marginalized group, which is interesting to me, is the largest group of the population. We're talking about the 99%, because Musk doesn't give, like, Elon Musk doesn't give two shits about anybody in this chat,
He does.
on this app. He
Nope.
doesn't care. Doesn't
Nope.
care. Donald Trump does not give two shits about anybody here. The biggest Trump supporters I know, Donald Trump doesn't give two shits about him. Just doesn't.
Right.
And it's all about how am I going to help my Halliburton buddies, how am I going to help my multi-billion-dollar buddies do what they do and continue on. And when we say oligarchy and when we say fascism and we use these terms, and people are like, well, you call everything fascist. Well, if you don't want me to call you fascist, stop acting like it's a fascist would.
Correct.
But what's even more just mind-boggling to me are the apologists.
Mm,
Like, the greatest thing the Republican Party ever did was get folks who can't scrape together two nickels to buy a pot to piss in, vehemently supporting them, just adamantly, no, they're doing everything great and they're got my best interests at heart and they're going to bring jobs back. And like, dude, you realize you
yeah.
live in Alabama, right?
Right.
And why is it that all the red states are the poorest states in the country?
Right.
I,
Right.
I make that make sense. If the Republicans actually gave a shit about you, can you explain that one?
Yeah. It does. Like, oh, we hate California, we hate Washington, like all these different states. Where I'm like, but we're the ones who have the most money. We're the ones who are basically helping you out every single time that there is some sort of disaster in your state.
Yeah.
Willingly.
Yes. California is the fourth largest GDP in at least this
Yep.
continent, if not the
Yep.
world.
I believe it's the world.
Yeah, the state of California,
Yep.
well, we're going to withhold aid. Okay, cool. We're not going to send our federal taxes anymore.
Great. That's how that works.
Now
I,
what?
I don't know. I don't know if it's true, but I did see a meme. I didn't do any research, but I saw a meme that said that's what the governor of Maine said. Basically, like we're going to cut off your federal funding, and it's like well, we're going to cut off our federal taxes.
She absolutely said it. Yeah, she 100% said it.
Good.
And I
Good.
don't know if she actually did it, but
Right. I was very impressed by her in that moment. I was
yeah.
very saddened by the rest of the people, and men in particular, who sat there and did absolutely nothing.
Mhm.
Um, you know, and I'm not gonna bash on men right now, but Uh, I'm just
That's okay.
noticing
I
a
think
lot.
we men have been in positions of authority and power long enough. We could be brought down
Too
a peg.
long. Yes, like knocking down a peg.
Yeah.
But it's like I definitely am seeing more women who are stepping up to the plate, um, and pushing back.
Oh yeah,
Like
here in Texas we have. Oh gosh, I can't believe I forgot. I'm totally blanking on her name right now. She's not my representative, but she's I think a district over in Dallas. Gosh, what is her name? She just recently got
Jasmine Crockett.
censured. Yeah, yes, because what she said
Yeah.
about Governor
Oh,
Hot Wheels.
Governor Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, that is like some people are offended by it. They're calling it ableist. Um, and anybody can be called Hot Wheels. It's so
Here's the
it's
thing.
so
She should have just said, "Yeah, I was making fun of him because he was in a wheelchair." I would have had more respect because when she was like, "Well, no, I said it because he sent people in buses." Like, come on, no, you didn't. You said it because he's a piece of
I didn't see
shit.
that part.
Yeah, you said it because he's a piece of shit and needs to be made fun of. Own that part.
I
That's the
did
only
some.
thing I'm like, no, 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 go ahead and own it. They're going to censure you anyway, so just go ahead and own it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Step
I
all the
maybe
way in
like
that.
I feel like with her, like she owns her stuff. And so
Mhm.
like I'm feeling like maybe she didn't know that that's what it was. But someone made a comment on one of my the post that I did earlier about her. Um, and they were like I didn't know his real name for a while because I guess that's what they call him there. And so she was like, I didn't know her actual name. We just called him like Hot Wheels the entire time. So I'm
Oh yeah,
like, okay,
no.
well,
See, she didn't coin that. We've been calling him Governor Hot Wheels for
right.
as long as he's been the governor. I mean, because look, nature nature failed. Nature failed us with Governor Hot Wheels. Okay,
I mean, there's a lot of things.
it's so
People
terrible that
sit
I
there.
say that because I generally don't like to call for for people getting hurt and harmed and whatnot. But what makes Greg Abbott egregiously terrible person is that he's in the position that he's in. Not but the wheelchair, yes, but not that he's in a wheelchair. He's in the positions of government, in the positions of
Yeah.
power that he's in because he was able to take an insurance company to task after that tree paralyzed him, and he
Mhm.
won a huge settlement. And then the first thing he does, literally the first thing he does when he gets into office, is limit my ability to do the same thing. Should a tree fall on me?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of things that are happening in Texas that it just baffles my mind. I just read about the Florida as well too. I mean, Florida. Um, but the talks about reintroducing child labor, because
Yeah.
of all the deportations that are happening. And I'm going, how about this? I mean, this is just a silly suggestion, but how about you stop deporting people and just utilize the people who are already skilled and ready to work and go into those jobs? But,
Yeah, that's the
and
thing.
it something that they wanted to do in the first place. Like they want kids to be working sooner and to continue to work. This is why one of the reasons why they're trying to get rid of Social Security so that people could just
Mhm.
work until they're no longer alive.
Yep.
Start working young and just work until you die.
Yeah, like they have the most asinine solutions to problems they're creating. They're
Yeah.
the silliest things, like yeah, child labor. They had that Florida representative talking about, oh, when I was a kid, I would pick berries, and I was out in the fields before I was legally allowed to work picking this. Like, no, the fuck you weren't.
They
That just
weren't
didn't
doing that.
happen. Yeah, and yeah, right. Like we're gonna get rid of Social Security. Okay, cool. Are you gonna give me all the money that I paid in Social Security back? Are you gonna give
That,
all the money everybody's paid because that's our money that we paid for?
that's our money.
You know,
Our money.
or here's what you can do: you can lift the cap, and Social Security becomes self sufficient almost instantly.
Correct.
Oh no, 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 we can't do that. No, we can't do that. You're
No,
asking
because it's
the
going to benefit the people. Like
right,
that's what it's going to do. It's going to benefit us. And
exactly.
that's egregious. Like we would never do anything like that.
No. Oh, you want the billionaires to pay more money. No, we don't want them to pay more money. We want them to pay what they owe. This
That's
is not
it.
hard.
Bottom
You know
line.
what? I tell you what. I'll agree with you. I'll agree that we'll leave the top tax bracket at 36%, so long as all those top tax bracket motherfuckers actually pay what they owe. Stop letting them hide their
Correct.
money here and put their money there. And, well, it's capital gains or it's not capital gains. It's invested. Therefore, it's working. So it's untaxable because it's invested. Yet I can use it as leverage towards a loan that I can get that if I default on, I don't have to pay back.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I just don't. I don't understand that life because I never lived it. I grew up middle class, I guess.
Mhm.
When I started working, like I've been working since I was 16, essentially. Well, maybe 14, because I had a work permit because I was working. I was going to be a librarian, because I thought it was just
It's
about
because of the
reading books.
glasses,
So
right?
yes. And so I was going to be a librarian. That was my whole goal because I was like, I love reading books and I read books all day. And then I thought that I wanted to start working at the library for like summers. I was like, oh, you got to like do things and like the Dewey Decimal System and stuff. And so I'm like,
Right.
okay, yeah, I'm doing this. Um, but I forgot where I was going with this story.
See, this is what happens when you get two neurodivergent people talking together.
You're right. I don't know what I'm talking about now, but it was going to lead to somewhere
I
very
think it
amazing.
was. I think we're talking about. Oh, geez, we're talking about work. That's for certain. I know we're talking about that. We're talking about how. I'm trying to go back to the breadcrumbs myself. Talking about child labor.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been working since I was like 14, and then I got my first job, and then I still don't know where I was going. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I started working out when I was 14.
Yeah,
That's not the end of it, but that's where we're going to stop right now. Because
sure.
I don't know
Because I think it'll take us longer to figure out where we were going.
that part.
Um, Now, before we get you out of here, you had mentioned about an economic blackout that's supposed to happen. Was that March 30th? Was that the date?
31st of
31st.
March. Yes.
All right. So tell us a little bit about this economic blackout. What is the goal? Who are we not buying from? Are we just not buying across the board? Blanket day, everybody takes a day off, stays at home.
That's what I feel like it should be. Like that's what I do. I just don't buy from anything. There, certain people, like things come up, and so I tell people, I'm like, you all act like there's no day before or after, the blackout day. Act like there's a blackout. It's like a blackout week, and people are like, oh no, I can't survive. And I'm like, you can go buy things like the day before,
Hmm.
and then you can have them on that day that the blackout is.
Right.
Um, I mean, typically this is the second one, and people are like, "What's the impact of it?" Because I think people really want to like hurt big businesses, and I'm like, it's not going to have an effect for one day. But what's happening is we are coming together. So it's being presented as a unified front essentially, and
So
what's going
basically,
on.
what you're doing is you're showing this is what we can do when we stop fighting amongst ourselves and let those who are in power know who really is in power.
Yeah, which is us, like we were mentioning earlier. Like
Right.
we are the ones who are in power. They work for us. Like they
That's the way it's
work for
supposed to
us
be,
all.
right?
That's how it's always been, and I don't know anything different. And they work for us, and they will want to continue to move in that direction because you can only push people for so long. Like you can only push people for so long, and we are
Right.
not in the '60s. We're not in the 1800s. Like we're like people's mindset attitudes have changed, and so we're not in this sort of like beat down sort of like I have to, yes master, I have to, in that frame of mind. So you can
Right.
only push people for so long before they start pushing back, and it's happening. It's happening on a scale. There's a march on April 5th, yeah, April 5th, a million persons march that's being orchestrated right now, that's being put together. And so, like, I mean, you see what's happening with Tesla. See what's happening with Tesla.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are all of these protests that are going on. You have all of these, not all of them, but a lot of these town halls, red states. They're like booed, like getting booed. I can't remember the governor, but that one's kind of funny to me. Like the governor, he like literally left his wife. Like they were booing him so hard. They were his wife. He stopped holding her hand, and she was just like, "Oh, I don't know what to do." And then they just left her.
Yeah.
She just hiding. So I'm like, okay, this is what's going on. Like, you have to be for the people, not for your constituents, and they're not. They're not.
And at the end of the day, a lot of these marches are great. We do need to have shows of unity across the board, right? Because there are people who are on both sides of the political spectrum that are being affected by these policies. You've got that guy in Florida who oh, I voted for Trump, and I'm not going to say that I was wrong in voting for Trump, but now my Peruvian wife is being deported
Right.
because of a mistake. I didn't know they were coming for us. Like, they told you that. They
Yeah,
told you from the beginning they were coming for you. Now you're ready to listen. Now you're ready to come up to the table. You know what I mean? And we come together and show them, hey, look, you work for us. It's important that, boom, we're here. And that's all well and good. But if we don't take that to the polls when it counts, when it matters.
correct. And Pennsylvania proved that. Pennsylvania proved it.
Mm-hmm.
So Wisconsin is next, and Florida's next. Republicans are concerned about Florida because Josh Wheel is definitely looking like some good is happening over there. I'm not gonna jinx it in any way, shape, or
Right.
form. And Gabe Allmond, like she's been. I don't know if you see her on TikTok. She's been on it, So it's like flipping those two seats. What happened in Pennsylvania? There's one in New York, which is to be determined. They keep moving. They're not going to tail the date because they don't want us to rally around it.
Right.
But
yeah, that's what it's going to take. Everybody's talking about 2 years from now. 2 years from now, great. 2 years from now is good, but what can we do right now?
Can we do right now? Yeah, the blue wave is not the blue wave that we thought it was going to be.
Right. And I hate to be the person that's like, well, when Joe Biden dropped out, which we all kind of knew he was going to do, it was too little, too late. And then when they thrust Kamala Harris up, which is, I think she was a perfectly fine candidate. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with her, other than the fact that she was black and a woman. And the second she came, I was like, man, I really hope, but this country is not ready for a black woman.
They weren't ready, and one of the things that I was really thinking about this. I mean, you thought like her campaign was flawless. Like it was a flawless campaign. It looked beautiful. Like everything about it was just like it was beautiful to me, aesthetically. She already had our vote.
Right.
Like the people that she was campaigning to, she already had our vote.
Mm-hmm.
At the crux of everything is the economy, is lower prices, is lower gas. That's what it was. That messaging was not out enough. And when she stated that she was going to follow the economy, that's where it was like, oh, because although the economy was increasing, like it was getting better, we're still not happy about the economy. So it's like that was the opportunity to separate herself at that point and talk about all the stuff that he was saying. Egg prices. I mean, he did a whole thing. He did a whole Prices Right thing. He had bacon out there and eggs, on the front lawn. And so I was like, this is what people want. That's what they want to see, because they're like, we don't care about your social issues. Boo, we don't care about any of that stuff. No, like they want you to tell them that things are going to be okay economy-wise.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, here's the thing. When you look at the social issues, those social issues are going to be hugely important to a very small subset of voters. And I hate to say it, I'll vote for LGBTQ plus rights because it's just the right thing to do. I think everybody should have the equal opportunity to be just as miserable as the rest of us. Um, I know it's an old joke, but forgive me. But at the end of the day, your independent, your swing voter, they care about two things: money and money. That's it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna sway people on abortion. You're just not. You're not gonna
No.
sway people on gay marriage. You're just not.
No.
You're
Don't
gonna sway
care.
them on their
They
money, on
don't
their
care.
pocketbook.
Yep. That's
And I
it.
feel that's where Joe Biden, like, he failed as
Yeah.
as a president, not highlighting. You know what I
Right.
mean? Look,
I agree. I agree.
the economy was going this way. I
Yeah.
did this, and now it's going this way. Because
Yep. Talk
these
about it
people,
every single day.
right,
Every day. That's what you do a presser every day talking about the changes and that are going on there. And I did a video too. I was like, I'm a social worker. Like, let me handle the social issues. Like, let me do that.
right,
It's like when you go out there, Congress, when you're going out there to AOC and Bernie Sanders, you're going out there, that's what you guys are talking about. Bottom line.
mm. Yeah. At the end of the day, all right. I've got you
Yeah.
for about another 10 minutes or so. If I have any questions in the side chat, just at me, and then question for Danny, whatever you got. Um, my goodness. So earlier you were talking about how you're older than I am, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm very upset with you because you're not considerably older than I am. You are a little older than I am, but you
Oh
look
yeah.
like 10 to 15 years younger than I do. And you know what? Here's the thing. It is because you're black. We're cards on the table. Black don't crack. And I'm not, it's not jealous. Well, it is a little bit of jealousy, right? Because I wish I didn't have the complexion of your t-shirt.
Uh,
But so you've got to do some more stuff. You got to have like a skincare routine or something that is just escaping me.
yeah. Yeah. So I there's a care routine actually because people are asking about like what I do for skin. So I put a whole thing on my TikTok and it's pinned to my account. Check it out. Um, but mainly it's the stress-free life. People they're like, how do you live like the way that you live? And I'm going, I don't let things bother me, that way. And I really utilize, I practice what I preach essentially.
Mm.
So what I'm telling my clients to do, I do that exact same thing. I wake up in the morning, I do a self-assessment, do a body scan, what's going on with me. I figure out like how it is I'm going to interact and engage with people. I drink a little water. I figure out like, yesterday I didn't eat enough meals, so I'm going to make sure I'm eating my 6 meals throughout the day. I'm going to do my meditation. I have my aromatherapy, my sounds. I have like all the things to keep me in sort of this like calm, sort of tranquil state. Um, skincare routine, it's just like it's something I've been doing for a while. I had horrible skin growing up, and so I went to a dermatologist, and I was like, "What do I need to do?" I found out my skin combination and all the different stuff, and so now I utilize things that work for my skin. And when I'm tired, I go to sleep.
See, that's my biggest issue. I'm a terrible insomniac, and
Yeah,
I could fall asleep at the most inopportune times.
yeah.
Like when I'm driving home from work, could totally fall asleep there. But it's not the best
Don't
time to
don't
fall
do
asleep. Yeah, I would
that.
not recommend. I would not recommend
So,
napping behind the wheel. It's just not a good outcome.
yeah, yeah.
But whenever I actually get into bed, I've tried the whole, do a routine. I have the same routine. I've done that, and the second I get into bed, pull the covers up and I look at the ceiling, and then it's like the rats in here are like, hey, by the way, you forgot to do these 5 things off of your list. So we're gonna have to add them
Right.
to tomorrow's list, which is already 5 things over from the previous day's list. What are we gonna do
Right.
about that? And they just pop, 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 pop,
Yeah.
pop. So um, well, Danny, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Let the folks know where they can find you, what you got coming up, and whatever words of wisdom or any of that good stuff you want to give the peeps.
Yeah, so I am on TikTok at DannyD01. What I have coming up, It's not much. I'm just going to be posting, like I do on a daily basis on TikTok, making sure I'm providing people with a little bit of hope, a little bit of inspiration, and authenticity and the truth. What I typically post is I'm debunking what's going on, out there, and I'm just providing people with as much, like I mentioned earlier, inspiration as I can. I'm not going to be doing. I did a couple of podcasts last week, and so I'm going to take a little bit of break from podcasting just for a little bit, um, just so I can catch up and get some work done. And I'm going to be on vacation next week, and that's what I'm going to be doing. Not see you on TikTok next week because I'll be on vacation and resting and hydrating and all those wonderful things. So yeah,
See,
I
when you
enjoy
say
being.
hydrate, I hear get plastered in Cabo. That's what I'm hearing. I don't think that's what you mean, but
No, if you're doing that, you want to make sure. So here's the deal. So if you are doing alcohol, this is what I learned a long time ago. And people do not listen to me and they never do it. So it's like if I'm doing an alcoholic drink, I'm gonna do some water. So I'm gonna chase water chaser.
right.
Also, shots are a never. Don't do it. Just do not do it because it messes up the whole flow. One drink per spot. Yes, if you're going to multiple spots, one drink per spot.
Okay. So this is what the advice from Danny D was: shots, don't not do them.
This
Go
is
to
where people
multiple
get in trouble.
spots. Multiple spots, multiple shots. That's what I heard. No, I'm absolutely kidding. I haven't had a drink in, I don't know, since 2018. I've been on the wagon ever since. So um
Yeah,
but yeah, no, follow that advice. That's actually good advice. If you drink
yeah,
some water, stay hydrated. Once again,
yep.
Danny, it has been amazing having you on. Thank you for not leg bending. Don't do it now because, again, I'll throw my hip out watching you do that. So, everybody say good night. We will see you next time. Cheers, everybody.
Everybody.